Boys and girls, I'm here with Camhun. We're in person doing this. There's no video because we're doing this, and we've been talking fantasy for 15 minutes, so you're joining us in the middle of this conversation. So bear with us. But you're the other Born Truther that I know.
Yeah, Kendrick Bourne, $1 contract, but I do believe he's starting the season on IR. If I'm not mistaken.
Is it IR or PUP, or one of the two?
Something like that. Like I was explaining earlier, I've been pretty absent from fantasy football, but I just turned my sleeper notifications back on earlier this week. Got the Bourne news, devastating for the thin bench of the inaugurals.
Yeah, I don't have him everywhere, but he's one of those dudes I'm drafting in like round 20 of startups.
For sure.
Be like throw him in. I feel like he obviously sucked 2 years ago. Then last year he had a couple of really good games until he got hurt.
Yeah,
and
he started a few games for me actually.
Yeah, and then people are just like not taking him into account. I don't think for whatever reason. I mean, I think Polk is going to be the wide receiver one there, but Bourne was allegedly going to be until now. So
I'm somewhat of a Patriots believer. Definitely in on Polk. Been a Hunter Henry truther for a couple of years now, but
you have been.
Let's back up a bit and not start this with the high stakes of Kendrick Bourne and really get the people hooked.
So when you say you're a Patriots truther, what does that mean? I mean, they're not going to be as bad as they were last year, right? But I am very much on the page of former players that are now coaches. I think they have a leg up. I mean, you look at D'Amico Ryans. I like what Antonio Pierce is doing in Vegas. I have optimism for Gerard Mayo. So what do you mean by you're a truther? Do you think they're going to be like a good team, or are you like you're like a 6-11 type truther?
Yeah, I don't think they'll be a good team. I don't even think they'll have a winning record. In fact, barring an Aaron Rodgers injury, it's probably going to get last in the AFC East. But they're going to be better than last year. I don't have a ton of confidence in their coaching staff, but specifically their players, I think are such bargains, especially in redraft. I know Chase knows this. I am a huge Ramondre Stevenson and Hunter Henry truther. It's not because I own them. I own them because I am a fan of them. But I think those two guys specifically are just huge values. And then if May is good, then it's all up from there for the whole offense. And I am, in fact, a Drake May believer. So
yeah, he's looked good.
Count me on the bandwagon.
Dude, you've been talking about Ramondre for 2 years, and for some reason in particular, this offseason, I keep seeing buy Ramondre. He's underrated, he's undervalued, he's underrated, he's undervalued. I feel like his value stayed the same from where it was, but it should. I mean, how much money did they just pay him? Was it 4 years? Like a stupid amount of money.
It was like that standard second running back contract. I mean, the fact he even got it from the team he's been on makes me think they have big plans in store for him. But at the same time, I'd temper my expectations. I wouldn't want him to be my RB1 or 2, but RB3, 4. I mean, I think that's the sweet spot.
So I guess we'll stop talking Patriots. Let's talk our league.
Talked enough about them for the last 2-3 decades, I think.
Yeah, literally. How are you feeling about coming into this season? Won the first year, and then where did you end up in the second year? Was it fifth place? Sixth? No.
I lost the first playoff game, and I have no idea what came of the fifth place game. Tuned out from that point on.
Yeah, you're like, well, it's over. You must have. I feel like you won. It was against. I think it was against Dan, wasn't it?
I think it was against Allen.
Or Allen. You probably won.
I think I must have won that one, but either way, I don't think we're coating ourselves in glory.
Yeah,
fifth or
sixth.
sixth.
Who gives a shit? Yeah. But then you said you turned the notifications off. You went all off.
Yeah, I mean once the rookie draft happens in the offseason, I think everyone kind of sticks to their guns for a month or two, and it's like if you're going to trade, the only way you're getting someone to move off their valuation is to just have this massive overpay. So didn't feel like wasting my time, turned the notifications off. I've set a record low for off-season trades for me, but I'm so back now. I guess the season starts in like exactly a week.
Oh, yeah,
I've got some work to do. I see what I'm missing on a number of my teams. This one, probably the team I've left in the best shape.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. Is you mentioned that. Where do you see yourself coming back and trying to make a move before the season starts in a week, or you think you let it kind of sit and hang, or because your team is in a good spot, right? I mean, it's still the three of you at the top of the division of death. Sorry, Flynn. That all could make a good run for it. Your re-signings all made sense. There weren't any weird question marks there. You didn't go as crazy in the draft as you did the year before, but still had a couple trades. But do you think the division of death is still alive with
without
your
a
roster
doubt.
and all that good stuff?
Without a doubt. Haven't taken a close look at everyone in our division. I know K-Mix still has a strong team. I believe Unicorn's team is strong, but I think it was aging a bit. I think same can be said about mine. I've obviously got the Jamar Chase holdout issue, but honestly, I hate paying attention to that kind of shit because then it gets resolved and you're like, why did I waste all those hours worrying?
Yeah, and it's Jamar Chase, right? It's not the second running back or the this or that. It's top 10-ish asset. So
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean your team's interesting, right? Because you, how do I say this intelligently? You were talking all this shit and then went ahead and did pretty similar to what I did, right? So have you started to look to the negative $300, whatever it is, in cap room next year, or is that not even on the radar? Are you in the cap is in real ship, all that good stuff?
I've looked at it. Yep. That's a problem for 2025 for me. As we've seen once you put in the effort to resolve your cap situation, I think you can hammer out the details in about an hour and then sit on those ideas you get and pull the trigger once it's time to do so. I don't think I'm going to push it off into the future, but if I got to trade a big name player after this season, I mean, so be it. They helped me get money last year or 2 years ago, and hypothetically that money is helping me play for free for the next however many years.
Right.
So whatever I got to do to remedy my cap situation, fine with me.
I wish I could say the same, but I can't. I think I can pull this up without disturbing the recording. Hopefully it's just not obnoxious sound-wise on your end. But let's see, just for your numbers. I know K-Migs is in an interesting spot too because he's negative a bunch of money next year, but he can move off that with Mahomes. Unicorn's the only one who's actually got positive cap space when you look at the big three in your division for next year, 351. But yeah, you're negative 316. K-Migs negative 200. Unicorn at 307 if he takes all those draft picks. So it is interesting because arguably all three of you guys, this could be the last hurrah with Unicorn's age, the cap for you and Brown out. But and the realignment comes next year. The three of you guys probably at this pace are all split up into different divisions next year. Is that something you're looking forward to getting out of the hellhole of the division of death, or is that like I mean, obviously you're not worried that iron won't sharpen iron, right? But it's been fun with the three of you in one place. Those first 3 weeks and last 3 weeks have been fun to watch from the outside in. But
the last 3 weeks I found fun. The first 3 weeks suck because then if you are the team that goes 1-2, you might be on the outside looking in of the playoff picture for a number of weeks. But at the same time, I do prefer it being competitive year round as opposed to having a division where it's just a cakewalk and then for half the NFL season, you're like, all right, well, at this point, just prepare for playoffs because only one person's going to win the league. Only one person's going to leave the season on the tail end of like a conclusive victory. Right. So having a bunch of meaningful games along the way, and maybe this is just like my soccer interest speaking, but sometimes it's more about the journey rather than the destination. We're the only country that really does the playoff system, where a lot of times the journey can be just as fun.
Yeah.
And I think our league is structured in a way where the regular season is a bit more important because that's the only time until the off season where you can change your team structure as far as contracts go. And there's a lot more week-to-week management along with games that matter. Yeah. So I like it being kind of that all-inclusive kind of focus needed, and the more difficult division kind of adds to it, I think. So I'll be sad to see it go, but that's an illusory statement because I think we're all excited to not be in the same division. But I'll remember it fondly, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it also helps that you've won, right? So I think Unicorn and Flynn will not maybe say the same thing if I ask the same question, whereas you and Megs are like, that's fine. We got a title out of it, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Oh man, I had such a great thought or follow up question. Oh, so about the European playoffs, because so from my limited understanding, from mostly watching Wrexham, just because you're a bandwagoner, it's basically you win, you get 3 points, you tie, you get 1 point, you lose, you get 0 points, and then at the end of the regular season, whoever has the most points wins. Right?
Exactly.
Like that's it.
And based on those standings, you'll qualify for other some international club tournaments. Which,
right.
That's pretty cool. That's the Champions League. But league play, it's just about who ends the season with the best record, basically, and it rewards kind of you eliminate the element of surprise, which good or bad. I kind of like a balance of the two.
Yeah.
But Unicorn or K-Mix has typically been the best team on paper, and then I think you had the best record last year, so it's like, should we reward that way, or should we kind of throw you into the gauntlet the last 2 weeks, leave it up to chance? And
we should do this retroactively, then I just win last year. I do like that. I think we just started doing, or like whoever gets the most points for gets their buy-in back, basically.
I like that.
I think that's a nice balance to give that. I think I won that this year, but then I think I covered Chase's buy-in because his team was miserable, so like I got it, but I really didn't get it.
Chase's team's Project maybe? Or?
Yeah, I think it was Project.
Okay.
There was someone, either Chase coming into it or Project coming into it, that I covered. So the 50 I won went right back in the pot, and I was like, damn. So, it's interesting. So you were, obviously, it was you and Morgan that were not able to do the top secret interviews that weren't very top secret once they were done with everything you had going on. But spoiler alert, I asked the same question at the end of overrated or underrated teams. I know you said you haven't really looked at too much or done too much. You've really unplugged, which is awesome. But have you thought about that at all? Any idea on teams that you would think, I'm trying to see the timer here, so it's not a 55-minute thing. Teams that are overrated or underrated in your opinion, your perspective, anything like that, or
let's see,
or properly rated. I think that was, I think Alan was the one who said, if K-Mix is properly rated, whatever it's at, which I would agree.
I tend to think that most teams are probably properly rated at this point, but what we're wrong about, we just don't know yet. Week one, we're going to be like, oh, well, shit. Yeah. This guy's RB1 on his team, had no idea. So that throws a wrench in every expectation. But if I'm just looking at the teams, I'm quite literally knocking on wood
this
right now.
This is wooden table.
But there hasn't been like this crazy fantasy relevant injury yet. They're bound to happen at some point, probably early on in the regular season. There are some teams that are stretched so thin, and my team cap wise is pretty top heavy, but I think I've got some depth. Other teams have sacrificed all their cap and still have no depth. I'm talking about Allen, and already in his flex. He's starting Xavier Worthy, who I'm quite high on, to be fair, and Khalil Shakir, who I'm also quite high on. But there are question marks. And let's say one person gets injured or a bye week comes up. Exactly. Next man up.
It's bad.
You take your pick between Jaleel McLaughlin, Rashad Bateman, and Cole Kmet.
No, thank you.
He's got some great tight end depth, but nothing else really. He could trade some picks for depth, but I think he's got to balance out the cap. And I don't think Allen's team is necessarily overly rated, but in that division, probably between him and Morgan, and I guess Dan's in there, but if I'm not mistaken, I don't think any of those teams really project to be a top half team.
Right.
So maybe that division is properly rated, but I just think it's bad.
It's almost interesting how each division has done things so differently. You look at the division of death, including Flynn here, lots of pieces. More focused on depth. Flynn's going for the youth angle just because that's the only thing that he can really hopefully get with, I think. You look at the Jamarcus Russell division, it's all studs or duds. And then you've got Morgan, who kind of doesn't belong there with all the depth and the nobodies kind of that he's rostering for 3 years. Project obviously on the rebuild route. And then the other division, the Achilles Smith division is like we're in or out constantly. Like Chase and I just completely switched to full tank versus full in.
I was just looking at y'all's division, and
Rick
I
doing
think
the rebuild.
Codes on paper should be the preseason odds-on favorite, but I think Chase has a chance. And
yeah, it's between Codes and Chase.
Definitely. If Chase's rookies start quickly, Neighbors, for example, if he can be a wide receiver 2 from day one, I think Chase is sitting in a playoff spot there. I trust Burrow and Purdy. Obviously, got to stay healthy. He's got some rookies on his bench that might be able to contribute from day one. Can definitely be some bye week fillers, and might actually just spike in value flat out. I think Chase can give Codes a run for his money in that division. Yeah. But if I had to put my money on it today, I'd bet Codes.
I think it's really fun because the playoff picture is kind of the same thing that it has been arguably all 3 years. Whichever team makes it through the Jamarcus Russell division, whichever one just somehow gets the first seed for whatever reason, the 3 in the division of death, and then it wasn't much of a fight. I mean, it was a fight with me and Codes last year. The year before that, it was a fight actually to the last week with Code and Cade. Shout out Cade. Shout out Spider Pigs for the other spot, and for Booty Disciple, our long forgotten friend, who all had a chance to make the playoffs and didn't. The 6th seed is where it's really fun again because right now it's Chase, Rick, or Dan, Morgan, Allen, Code. It's the 6 of them could all arguably be the 6th seed with 2 of those names being the 2 and 3 seed. But I think it's. I mean, of course, barring catastrophic things, right? It's the winner of Jamarcus Russell, it's the winner of Achilles Smith, the 3 from the division of death, and then whoever else takes that last spot. Because I think Project Flynn and I are the full tank. Rick is kind of the productive struggle.
I predict Rick
enough
to be in that bottom 4 as well. But I think when I think of Dynasty League tiers, it's not always okay, this is a tanking team. There is rebuilding and not having fun, and then there's rebuilding and having fun. Yeah, and I think Rick is kind of in that second
rebuilding
bottom
and having fun.
I was just looking at his team. I mean, I don't have a single share of Caleb Williams across 3-4 leagues, and I'm so sad I don't. I think I honestly might just overpay now because it's the cheapest he's ever going to be. He very much so looks the part. So even if Rick misses out, I think he should be by far the best of the bottom 4. Should probably secure the rights to the first overall next year.
Yeah, I mean, if
and then he's just going to have fun watching. I think it's Anthony Richardson and Caleb Williams on his team. Yeah, that's as fun of a QB room as you can get.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's me, Flynn, and Project for sure.
Locks.
And then whichever team ends up down there with us wins 101. Mm-hmm. And that becomes that fun conversation of what's better, 101 or 105 and 113, because I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think the right answer is probably 101, right? But 105
maybe for
and
this next draft class. I mean, I'm not too in the know, but if there's no, generational, I'm air quotes right now, generational QB prospect.
Yeah.
The 101 might not be that great.
Right.
But I don't know.
But think 105 and 113 this year are really good. I mean, K-Meg's got Bo Nix at 13.
Yep. And consider me a believer because I'm buying in. I'm buying in.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the league turns out this year. Did you see sidetrack for half of the league knows Casey, the other half probably doesn't. Did you see the trade that Casey did or was sending screenshots of in Dynasty Degenerates the other day?
No, I didn't.
Pull it up real quick if you can. You're going to love it because it's you and you're such a Stroud truther as well. But it was the equivalent of. Did you find it by any chance? I know you're looking. He sent a couple screenshots. Here it is. Can you read that aloud for me? I can't remember what it is.
So it's C.J. Stroud.
10 team Superflex.
Yeah. So Team A receives Team Stroud. That's the only asset they get in exchange for 3 firsts from 2025, 26, and 27, plus Russell Wilson, Romeo Dobbs, my boy John Mechie, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Ben Sinnott.
So it's basically JSN and 3 firsts.
Oh, this went through.
Yeah, no, he did.
Give me the Stroud side easily.
He traded for Stroud.
That is 3 firsts Jackson Smith and Jigba and some roster cloggers.
Yes.
No hate to Romeo Dobbs or Sonat or Wilson, but
So it's 10 teams. So I think Stroud's the right answer. Then he said the rest of his roster. But
someone would offer
the only
that.
thing I remember saying in that, I was just like, did you try that for Mahomes first? That's the only thing I said, because that's ridiculous for Stroud. But you are a Stroud truther, so we were just making fun of Justin Zelly a minute ago. But Stroud,
Mahomes and Stroud are my
Herbert.
top two guys.
Who is
right
it?
now. Mahomes and Stroud.
Yeah.
I understand Josh Allen brings the
just
ceiling.
crazy.
I understand Jalen Hurts gets those rushing touchdowns, but he also can't throw the football 55 yards.
Yes, he can.
I've seen video evidence to the contrary. And he's also a cornball. But and he's an Eagle. Let me throw. But yeah, I think Mahomes and Stroud are the guys, like the true cornerstones, and Caleb Williams will enter that conversation soon. I actually, in my longest standing Dynasty League, into the offseason, I traded Mahomes in a big deal that included a bunch of high-end assets, but one of them was Justin Herbert. Quickly turned Herbert around in another big trade for Stroud. So I essentially went Mahomes to Stroud and gathered some other assets along the way. But those are pretty much Stroud at the moment is probably the only guy I tear down from Mahomes.
But that's the way to do it, though. People will go ahead and trade Mahomes. I mean, you remember the one in Artie. The people will trade Mahomes like it's nothing, and it's ridiculous. So I was trying to...
You got to trade him like he's your precious.
Yeah, I was trying to trade off of Burrow in another league that I don't know if you're in No Fun League or not, but it was basically it's somebody that's in our league currently. So I'm not going to say too much, but like I'm trying to tear down the right way. I was trying to tear down a quarterback, a first round pick, and a starter at another position. And I feel like you've got multiple outs if you do it this way. But there are people that like I've done a trade for other people for like 101, and I'll give them like my second round pick. It'll be like 203 and my 25 first for 101.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what are you fucking thinking? If everybody makes their pick, I'm sending you Jared Goff and a first for Mahomes. Why would you do that? No right person in their right mind would do that. And so it's that top of the market QB conversation is fun, I think. I think it's Mahomes Allen, but then that bucket of 3 to 6 of Hurts, Stroud,
Burrow,
Lamar, Richardson is a fun conversation. I think it goes Lamar, Hurts. I don't have Richardson that high. I think it goes Lamar, Hurts, Stroud, then Richardson. But like, I haven't seen enough from Richardson.
And this again reflects as if I am just fully biased of like these guys are my team, but I got this guy because I believe in him. But I think Kyler Murray needs to be in that second group, and I'm talking more short term, maybe just this year. To be put in the conversation with Burrow, Richardson, all those guys in that kind of 3 through 6 tier. But I think Kyler is due for a huge year. He's never had a receiver this good. I mean, he had Hopkins, but kind of tail end of his prime.
And then he was priced at like QB 4 or 5 at that point.
Now he's kind of right around like that QB 10 range. Like I think Kyler and Dak are both kind of in this sweet spot.
And Dak's going to be underpriced for the rest of his career. I just can't.
I was talking to you about Dowdle before we started this. Say what you will about who the Cowboys' starting running back is, but we are going to be a passing offense this year.
Yeah.
Take pride in having the Cowboys' starting running back, maybe, but I don't think they're relevant. Like,
just going to throw it to CD.
Yeah.
I think if we fast forward a year, if I go into a coma tomorrow and I wake up and it's a year from now, and I wake up out of the coma and I ask my fantasy football and they say Kyler's QB3, I would say, okay, something happened. I believe you. If you told me Anthony Richardson's QB3, I wouldn't believe you. I would say, what happened? Like, there's no way. Or if Caleb is QB3. Like, I wouldn't believe it.
I'd believe either of those, but Anthony Richardson has I'm just a gut guy.
Like, I would be skeptical is what I mean. Like, I'd be skeptical. Like, okay, what did they do to get there? Because I feel like Stroud didn't do enough to get there. I like Stroud. I don't mind him being in the conversation. But I wouldn't blink if you told me Kyler's QB3 now. Like, I can see him just shooting off. I mean, he was going in the first round 2 years ago. Had a down year. The coach got fired.
I was going to say, I think it's more of just the Cards organization being bad. Yeah. And now it's somewhat improving, but they have a better outlook now. And they should be involved in some pretty high-scoring games. The defenses in that division, besides the Niners, nothing special. And I think all the offenses, assuming they stay healthy, that should be a lot of shootouts. So
Yeah.
and this is something I thought about 6 months ago, but I am so bad at start-sit decisions, and unfortunately I've backed myself into the corner of one at QB. So I've got Kyler, Stafford, and Geno, all NFC West guys.
Oh, jeez.
But when they play each other, if that turns into a shootout, I mean, those
Whatever.
two quarterbacks are going to put up 50, 60 points.
Easily.
And I understand those QBs don't have the super high ceiling that Lamar or Josh Allen have. But I think if you can get like a solid top 15 quarterbacks throughout your team and then surround it with actual ceiling guys, hopefully Jamar Chase and the like can do that for me this year.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the team build I tend to like, as opposed to paying up for those super high quarterback premiums. And I get it. Josh Allen puts up 40-point games all the time, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's where I need to devote my resources.
And you and I have very differing build philosophies, which is very fun. Mine is just get the premium quarterbacks and then figure out the rest.
I love the premium quarterbacks, but I think I tend to gravitate more towards the mostly pocket passing ones that will scramble, and you'll get the ones that will run and pass. So.
Yeah. Well, I think you look at, and we'll wrap this up because we're about to hit 30 minutes, but you look at the, we did that startup, the No K Makes Allowed League, and I think that highlights both of our, it's two quarterback, 2 tight ends, plus 1 PPR, and I took 5 tight ends, Lamar Jackson, Stafford, and Kirk Cousins.
I think I took Stroud 3rd overall, and then I traded you during the Green Bay Dallas playoff game.
Yes.
So I could draft Jordan Love in the second round after he was tearing us up.
You have Stroud, Love, and then you hammer home your wide receivers.
To go on the record real quick, I am a Jordan lover.
Same.
He's the guy. Let's just get that out of the way. Hate the Packers, but I'm a big Jordan Love guy, and I think he's making another jump this season.
Well, so that's the other thing that I don't understand, and then we will actually wrap this up. And I will say this until I die. Why is Jordan Love not priced like CJ Stroud? Why is Jordan Love not in that QB2 conversation? They did the same thing. I know that he was sitting on the bench for 2 years. I understand. I'm all on board. What I'm saying is that was his quote-unquote rookie year. He came in. He won a playoff game. He popped off. He had some slump in the middle of the year, right? I don't think Stroud did that slump, but like they did carbon copy things, and Love is like, everybody's like, he's QB10.
I get it, but I mean, and I can even set aside the age thing because it's Jordan Love is what, like 25?
He's 25,
or something.
yeah, 25 to 22,
23,
yeah.
Like
which in quarterback years is nothing.
That's nothing for me, but I think the two things that really do stand out to me and why I would put Stroud a bit higher. So all this conversation about the Packers having 4 wide receiver ones, like, all right, whatever.
No,
but
not
the
really.
Texans genuinely might have 3 wide receiver ones.
Yeah,
that's
fair.
surrounding personnel going to give the edge to Stroud there. No hate on the Packers there, but also Love just kept a franchise going on its trajectory. Like,
okay, yeah.
Stroud genuinely turned around an entire franchise. I mean, Alan can vouch. Like, we were real excited about the DeMeco Ryans hire, but we didn't expect him to
do this.
He's not going to be like this all-time coach, but you can't be an all-time coach without an all-time quarterback. And like Stroud, in my opinion, not stat-wise, but just like I've never seen a rookie quarterback, maybe Andrew Luck, but otherwise never seen someone just kind of have that poise.
Come in and run the place.
Like take that weight of an entire franchise and do that.
Yeah.
Like I think he'll improve in year 2, and I know that's the way he's being drafted at is if he will take that step, but I don't know. I'll say he's the best quarterback in Texas, and that's the most you'll get out of me right now.
Well, I think that is a fair point. I do love DeMeco Ryans. I loved him when he was a Texan. I loved him when he was an Eagle. I've always been not even really a closet Texans fan, but like I've always liked the Texans.
It's hard to hate the Texans. Like, what reason do you have?
Yeah, that's true.
It's like them and the Jags. Honestly, that whole division, except maybe the Colts. Like, what have they ever done to you?
Yeah, no,
they're harmless.
They've never done anything to anybody. But I loved watching Andre Johnson was one of my favorite players ever. Loved seeing him whoop Cortland Finnegan in the middle of that one game too. That was also incredible.
Oh yeah.
I loved that he played for the Colts for that 1 year. Did nothing all year. Played the Texans and went off for like 200 yards.
Also played for the Titans.
Yeah, played for the Titans.
He's played for the Jags, and he's the
AFC
AFC South legend.
But so I do I am happy that they're turning things around there. I just can't get into the price of Stroud. And of course, the only place that doesn't have him priced that way is when I did a trade to get Stroud, thinking that I could then maneuver off of him and get like a premium, and it hasn't worked. And I'm like, so I'm stuck with Stroud as my QB2 with Mahomes,
I'm
which is great. I've got Mahomes and Stroud.
That is
I'm
the
okay.
ideal quarterback room.
Yeah, I'm
Cornerstones
fine
on
with him
one.
at QB2. But that'll do it. That'll wrap us up. Any final thoughts you have before we leave this library and you go to your concert and I go pretend like I was working this entire time I was sitting here talking about fantasy football?
Yeah, just some off the cuff hot takes, if you will.
Oh my God, here we go. I'm pointing the microphone more to you just in case.
RB1 overall, Isaiah Pacheco, once again.
That's fine.
On my team, but I've got him everywhere. He's the guy.
No depth behind him. McKinnon's not going to take anything away because he's not there anymore.
They just signed Samaje Perine today.
Did they?
So as far as competition goes, that's it.
Yeah, him and CEH, God forbid.
Dallas Cowboys do not win the division, but
I could have told you that.
we make it to the NFC Championship game. And we lose to one of the Packers, 49ers, or Eagles because everyone knows that God will not let us win a playoff game against one of those three teams. And here's my final hot take. Unless the Cowboys do advance to the Super Bowl, Dak leaves Dallas and starts for the New York Football Giants,
The Giants?
in 2025. Or, alternatively, the Seattle Seahawks.
I think he's going to go
But you
to
heard
the
it here
Rams.
first.
I think he's going to go to the Rams. I think so.
You know what? Seeing Dak with a true offensive-minded coach like
Could
McVay,
you imagine?
I will be a Dak fan until he retires. Like, I'll even if he goes to the Giants, I'll root for him some. I won't root for him if he takes over justifiably from Jalen Hurts, though.
I will not be a Dak fan until he leaves.
All the dumb
He's gonna
Cowboy
make some
fans will
money,
see
man.
exactly what he did for us once he plays for another. If he plays for another team,
Yeah.
the same way we underappreciated Romo during his time. But those are
I
my
love
just
Romo.
little off the cuff hot takes. We'll see.
I loved Romo. I loved watching him fucking fumble.
I was gonna
with
say I knew where that
Seahawks, and
sentence was heading.
I loved watching him just fail every time we got to the playoffs. That's your organization in general recently. But yeah, I mean, I think Dak's undervalued. If he goes to the Rams, it'd be stupid. It'd be stupid good.
I would
if he goes
love to see
Seattle,
that.
It'd be good. Yeah, I think that it's. I think that people undervalue him.
Definitely.
I don't understand it. I mean, maybe it's the same way that I was with McNabb. Like I hate Donovan McNabb to this day. Can't
And I love
him. So maybe it's the same thing. But yeah, McNabb never did anything for us. He got us to the Super Bowl. He went out partying. He was throwing up in the huddle.
He starred in Campbell's soup commercial.
Yeah, all that shit. Which I think now we have Jason Kelsey is in Campbell's soup commercials. So it's just a Philly thing, I guess. I don't know. But I like your hot takes. I can see Pacheco's RB1. I was afraid you were going to say Kyron Williams. I don't want
Not a single share anywhere,
Me neither.
any format, not about it.
No,
not
it's-
even about Blake Corum. I can't do it.
What was your second one? I don't know. I don't think the Cowboys win the division.
We
I think
make the
it's
playoffs,
But you guys won
go
the division
deep,
last
but we
year, right?
lose to one of our boogeymen.
You guys won the division last year, right?
I think so.
So you
Can't-
according to the rules of the NFC East, you can't win this year,
That's true.
and it's sure as shit not going to be the Giants or the Commanders. So it's got to be the Eagles.
You just did like the most told you so process of elimination possible.
Well, because it's back to 2004.
Yeah.
I think the Eagles won in 03, 04, and that was the
Yeah.
last time back to back. It's been 20 years, which is cool as shit. I'm really upset that it didn't end last year with the worst collapse of any team ever. But I think that is a cool thing. And we'll pick up
NFC
some
East
of
in general last year, some impressive collapses.
Yeah.
Can shake hands on that one. That was quite
it
the
was
end of
bad.
the season.
I dare I say, I do miss the days where the Giants were good and the Redskins were pesky. And it was.
I'll agree
like,
on the
really-
latter point. The media circus for the Giants, like
Well, yeah, that was
Philly
annoying.
and Dallas get a
But,
little
like-
too media attention, but
Yeah.
oh my
But
god,
I loved when it was Philly versus Dallas and it was two heavy hitters, or Philly versus New York and heavy hitters, or the Cowboys in New York, and then,
Yep.
the Commanders would usually take a game,
Yep.
or it was tough to put them to bed unless it was Thursday night with Michael Vick. Then it was fine, or Monday night, whatever it was. But like that, I do miss those days when it was, and all three teams had great defenses. When you guys had Wade Phillips, the Giants.
Wade Phillips is my favorite coach we've had in my lifetime.
Yeah,
like Bill Parcells, great, but just
he's
not
my
in his
favorite
prime with
Cowboys
us.
coach that I've ever had.
I love Wade. Then he went to the Texans too, so it's just like I love that.
He's now like coaching in the USFL or some shit.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And here's what I'll say about the NFC East. We do get way too much media attention, but when you get stuck with those terrible Broncos, Broncos Raiders Sunday night or something, you are going to be wishing that we got one of our 500 televised Cowboy Giants matchups per year, or some Eagles Commanders 20-3 victory. Like it's just NFC East at least entertains.
Yeah.
So.
What was it with the Thursday nights? Like, why was it so bad? Did they put rules in place and they just had because what was it? It wasn't last year. It was the year before.
No, they thought they improved
night.
it, and they were supposed to add those flex rules, but like just play it safe. Just get the Cowboys or the Eagles a primetime home NFC East matchup, and like something stupid will happen.
Yeah.
It'll be all in the news the next day. It'll be way better than the alternative of, like I said, Broncos Raiders. Like, are we really going to watch those? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because it's football and Thursday night, there's nothing else to do. But that's the thing that sucks. Is it's like, I guess the NFL's trying to make it fair, make sure like each team has a primetime game of some kind. It wasn't like the Jets. Well, because they had Rodgers, so I mean, you just can't blame them. But it's like they based their entire thing on this, and then they're like, "Well, we're just gonna go ahead with this game anyway." It's like somebody should be looking and be like, "This should not be a thing."
Yeah.
But I guess when you share stadiums and all that shit, it makes it tough too. My other favorite thing is Green Bay versus Philly in Brazil, and neither team can wear green when it's their primary color. And green is in the name of one of the teams as a Friday night opener. That's NFL planning for you at its finest, I guess. So, all right, final thoughts real this time. We'll wrap it up. Where are we time wise? 36 minutes. Oh boy, that's right. That's fine. You guys are listening.
Final thoughts. I don't know who I play week 1, but ideally someone from my division, I guess.
Yeah, but I think it's Unicorn.
Ideally, my team won't look the exact same as it does now, so don't practice or anything. We've got some changes to make. So
yeah, you're against Unicorn.
All right.
By the way, guess if you guess this within a point, you win another bottle of water. Because I already bought you one. What is currently the point projection differential between you and Unicorn in a typical Division of Death matchup?
So I know I believe I don't have a second quarterback in right now. So
you do. You have Stafford and Murray, and
okay. I would guess it's definitely below 5. I'm gonna guess 2.
It is 0.41 points difference. You're at 152.81. He's at 152.4.
Okay. Typical
Division of Death. Chasing code a point and a half away. Everything else is allegedly going to be a blowout. Well, Dan and Project's rebuilding and is 6 points behind Dan.
Unicorn normally spanks me, and then in fantasy matchups he also beats me too. But I think he's got a pretty good record.
You have a miserable division record from what I remember. If we go to the lifetime stats on this shitty website somebody made. Let's see.
I think
division.
Probably just below.
You're 7-7. Yeah, you're 7-7.
I normally do better in the second division matchup window when it matters.
Better than Flynn, who's 0-12 still.
And as a result of me doing better in that second window, it always relegates normally K-Migs to the 6th spot by points for, and just absolutely screws over Dan. I'm realizing practically the person who should have the biggest rivalry is probably Dan, because I beat him in the playoffs, and then I've kept him out of the playoffs, kind of indirectly by making someone with that insurmountable point total come down to that 6th spot and
that's
his
biggest weakness. 2K makes is the start and sit decisions or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how it goes. All right, that does it for us. 39 minutes and probably hit the 40 mark as we wrap this up. So good talking to you. Enjoy your show.
Best of luck to Project. Worst of luck to everyone else. I think that's kind of where the competition divide stands. Not too worried about that one. I want your rebuild to go quickly along with Projects, but everyone else, worst of luck.
Suck it.
May you have a miserable time over the next 3 months, and may all your bye weeks fall on matchups with me. Yeah. No injuries, though.
No injuries.
That's
nobody ever roots for injuries. It is really interesting because there are two teams who are sitting here saying I'm in the playoffs, and there's a good chance. I really do. I think Rick is dark horse enough that one of these teams thinks from the playoffs, and they're going to be in the extra pick bracket at the end of this.
That is my biggest hope
Or
this year.
the toilet bowl bracket.
Even if it's me, like I want some team to just be blindsided by some upstart team, just like, hey, I'm making the playoffs this
I'm
year
here now.
New era.
Yeah.
So let's usher
Rick
it in.
and Chase ushering the new era in,
Yeah.
potentially, as I very much slide
Chase
over
and
the bottom.
Morgan most likely to make their playoff debuts this year, as far as teams who haven't made it before.
Yeah, I mean Morgan started extra pick, or Morgan started the toilet bowl, then extra pick, so on that trajectory. But it's just such a different build than the other teams in his division. So in theory, it could be a rough start, but a great finish for Morgan. But who knows? We'll talk to Morgan and see what his thoughts are.
Yep.
He was talking shit in the lead chat, and
Well,
I said when,
typical.
and then typical. I said when are we doing the interview? He's like soon. I'm like okay.
He's a man of mystery.
Yeah, he's a man of mystery, no camera and all the things, but we know where he works and teaches in his school and all that. So,
And the scheme he runs.
yeah, exactly. All right, that's going to do it for us. 41 minutes on the nose.